Today's a big day here in the Convention Center in New Orleans, where chefs from all over the country are competing to take home the grand prize, the King of Seafood, here in the USA. This is a great opportunity for us to take chefs from all over the country and highlight the importance of domestic seafood as opposed to the imports. Not only show the rich flavor and the difference between the imports, but how important it is to the economy of so many cities, states around the country, and how they rely on seafood, not only to feed the people, but for an economic engine in their communities, as it is all across the coast of Louisiana. So we're real excited today to have chefs from all over so they can bring that message home, and hopefully we'll spread the word about domestic seafood, and hopefully they'll send some tourists down here as well.
We're trying to prepare the best domestic seafood you can, and that's what the chefs are trying to do here, and they're judged on the plate itself and the seafood that they cook here.
I'm Bryan Adams, the Executive Director for the Louisiana Seafood Promotion Board, and thank you all for coming out today. I'd like to take a minute to introduce our Lieutenant Governor, the host of this event, the Honorable Billy Nungesser.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you all for coming out today. And I want to welcome all of the contestants, all the chefs from all over the country. May the best chef win, but we got to be pulling for our local favorite, Bonnie Bro. Let's give her a round. Now remember, this is the first year that we had a queen of seafood. Every year it's been a male. So we got a little special skin in the game here today. So, but it's fair judging. The judges aren't from New Orleans, so everybody's got an equal chance of winning.
I'm featuring whitefish from Lake Michigan. Indiana's a landlocked state, but we do have access to the Great Lakes, and we serve a lot of lake fish in my restaurants.
How'd you come up with the idea for this?
I just thought we'd do something that I'm cooking with my wife today, and she always makes pasta for me. So I'm doing a Catalonian Spanish dish on sort of like a paella-style pasta.
Tell us about the seafood options available in Indiana.
Well, we have an airport, so that helps. We do a lot of lake fish, a lot of lake trout, walleye, whitefish, smelt, stuff like that.
What is your recommendation to someone cooking seafood at home?
To do it a couple of times a week. It's really good for you. The health benefits of seafood should far outweigh anybody's reticence in cooking it.
We're doing a southern style cioppino with a crawfish fat squid ink pasta and homemade mullet bertarga.
How'd you come up with the idea for this?
I was a chef in Spain and in Italy, and so two of my favorite dishes are bouillabaisse and brodetto, and then the two cultures merged and moved to America, and the fishermen in San Francisco came up with the dish cioppino, which means chop chop. So this is the dish we decided to do.
Tell us about the seafood options available in Mississippi.
Well, it's pretty much a plethora. We are on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so we have a lot of local crab meat, we have local shrimp, a lot of flounder, a lot of oysters. Actually, Mississippi Gulf Coast is second in the world to cultivation of oysters, and so we just have a plethora of seafood, cobia, triggerfish, snapper. I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to seafood in Mississippi.
Today we're doing an Alaskan king crab risotto with Alaskan nori powder, some salmon roe, and some foraged beach asparagus.
How long have you been cooking with seafood?
Since I started about 12 years ago. I grew up in Alaska, so the seafood to me is very familiar.
Tell us about the seafood in Alaska. What's available?
Right now what's available is Alaskan salmon. There's 5 different species of salmon. We have chum, we have pink, we have sockeye, coho, and then king. Also, what's also available is Alaskan king crab, Alaskan halibut, and Alaskan black cod.
We're going to do a trio of Gulf seafood. We've got a pan-roasted snapper with a Florida citrus and tomato meuniere, a little crispy grouper cheek with a Dijon lime aioli, and a char-grilled oyster, little small batch bacon, and roasted garlic.
How'd you come up with the idea for this?
You know, we like to keep things simple. Work at the restaurant, you know, keep it simple, you know. Let the seafood speak for itself, and then just hope it all tastes good.
What are the seafood options in Florida?
Oh man, we have so much seafood in Florida, from oysters to clams, snapper. I mean, any kind of fresh fish you want, you can get into Florida.
What's the best thing about cooking with seafood?
Best thing about cooking with seafood is, I mean, it comes right from the water right to the restaurant. The freshest of the fresh, We get it every day. Yeah, that's about it.
Today I'm doing New Mexico spiced duck fat fried oysters with a hatch New Mexico green chili and chorizo barbecue spread. We have baby rice cakes that we're going to toss in chimayo chili powder with an arugula and preserved lemon vinaigrette. So the dish has a lot of balance.
How did you come up with the idea for this?
New Mexico, right? So we have the best chili in the world. So the dish is about New Mexico, big flavors, a nice crispy oyster that we're going to fry in duck fat in a cast iron pan. I have a flour mixture of cornmeal, rice flour, and panko breadcrumbs. So it's going to have like a nice chicken fried coating on there. Fantastic oyster from the Pacific Northwest. And we're ready to go.
Tell us about the seafood that's available in New Mexico.
Well, in New Mexico, we have really good trout. For example, aside from that, not a whole lot of like options in New Mexico. So that's why I went to my friends up in Washington State and got the absolute best oysters I've ever had in my life out of Pacific Northwest.
Tell us, what's your advice to people about cooking seafood at home?
Same thing as anything else. You know, it doesn't matter, honestly, if it's seafood, meat, vegetables, you know, cook with love. You know, make sure your dish is thoughtful. There's balance. There's you know, it's savory, it's spicy, it's sweet, a little salty, a little bitter. If you hit all those angles and you cook with love, you have a chance every single time.
We're cooking a native fish to Missouri called walleye. We're doing it 2 ways. We're going to smoke some walleye, and we're going to make a crab cake with walleye in it. 50% lump crab, 50% walleye, and we're going to do a caper remoulade to go with that. Going to be absolutely fantastic. We have great fish in Missouri, great fishing. Matter of fact, the Lake of the Ozarks has more shoreline than the state of California.
Tell us, how many years have you been cooking seafood and what your advice is?
I've been cooking since I was 8. I'm 4th generation in my family, following in the footsteps of my mother, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and my late husband was a chef from Brooklyn, New York.
What's your key to success when it comes to cooking seafood?
I think you have to use your imagination as your #1 tool, and you're only as good as the ingredients that you use.
What advice do you have for someone cooking seafood for the first time?
Be brave. Don't be afraid to try. The minute you're afraid to try, you're already defeated.
Today we're doing a little pan-seared hog snapper with crispy skin, Sea Island red peas, whiteacre peas, shrimp pot liquor sauce with braised collard greens and crispy furrow and a popcorn strip waffle.
How did you come up with the idea for this?
Well, I was kind of going through some things and I kind of started one way and went to another way, and I saw an idea of doing popcorn grits. I was like, so how can I incorporate that somewhere else? So that's how I came up with the waffle. And then we're like, well, let's do it with the skin and crispy, almost like crackling. So it was a time-consuming aspect of it, actually. So.
How many years have you been cooking seafood?
Probably about 20 years or so, give and take a couple, you know.
What's it like cooking with seafood?
It's fun because, you know, there's so many different types of seafood out there from different regions and different areas, especially in South Carolina. So you can go from shellfish to, you know, deep water fish to shrimp. So it's a good thing.
What's your recommendation for someone at home maybe cooking seafood?
Have fun with it. You know, that's you know, get your freshest ingredients and don't be scared. You know, cook it high and fast and don't overcook it.
Today we're doing a modern lobster bake, New England lobster bake. We're going to be doing butter poached lobster from Gloucester, Massachusetts. Kind of a take on like a traditional lobster bake, roasted potatoes, cream corn, heirloom tomatoes, and we got some local clams, razors, and little necks.
How'd you come up with the idea for this?
We're just taking a New England classic and kind of doing our spin on it. So, you know, it's people go to New England to get lobster bakes, so that's what we're going to do.
How many years have you been cooking seafood?
20 years. 20 years I've been in business.
Tell us about the seafood options available in Massachusetts.
New England has some of the best seafood. We got, you know, incredible lobster, shellfish. You know, this time of year is the best time of year for seafood in New England, so it's plentiful right now. We love it.
What is your advice to someone at home that would like to maybe cook seafood for the first time?
Practice. Lots of practice. You know, I think seafood is a tough thing to cook, but as long as you have good product, you know, let it shine.
What we're doing today is local caught halibut, and we're going to wrap that with prosciutto, and we're going to serve it over a lobster, corn, and grapefruit salad with pea butter and local heirloom tomatoes.
What was the inspiration for this dish?
It's a dish that I've cooked a couple times, not in its whole entirety, but we're from New Hampshire, so you know we just want to have some lobster on the plate, and halibut's kind of a fish that I don't think a lot of people in the South have ever really seen. It's kind of an East Coast fish and an Alaskan fish, so one of my favorite fishes of all time, so love cooking it.
What are the seafood options available in New Hampshire?
Off the coast you have a lot of striped bass, local caught cod and haddock. The halibut can be caught off of there. Lobsters, obviously. There's clams, oysters you can get.
What's the best thing about cooking with seafood?
The best thing about cooking with seafood is the simplicity of the skills that you need to cook it. It can be, you don't have to do a lot to it for it to taste amazing.
So tonight we're going to do a little bit of local lobster and succotash, and then we're going to do a beautiful black bass. It's a very short season, so it's about 4 weeks. So we're so excited to bring it here to Louisiana.
How many years have you been cooking with seafood, and what's the best part of it?
I have been cooking with seafood pretty much since I was 18 years old. I grew up very poor. We did not have seafood. What came out of a box was our seafood. But once I got the taste of it when we went to the coast, I was hooked. So it's been a few moons, let's just say. So a good 15, 16 years. So.
What's the best thing about cooking with seafood?
Cooking with seafood is amazing because there's such a vast variety out there, and you can give so many different flavor profiles, and you don't really have to do a lot to it to achieve that mission. So you really can create just a different flavor in your mouth and textures and tastes and all that great stuff, and really enjoy yourself and have a lot of fun with seafood.
What's your advice for someone at home maybe want to try cooking some seafood?
Cook from the heart. It's what I tell every single young cook. I tell all these kids I deal with every day, cook from the heart and let the food speak for itself. Don't overcomplicate it, because then when you overcomplicate it, it usually doesn't turn out how you want to, but let that flavor just shine through.
I'm going to do a little bit of my version of a crab boiled shrimp. It's going to be sous vide. It's going to be served with some charred green tomatoes. We're going to do a plum sauce with little ancho chilies. It's going to have some shrimp spiders on the plate as well. So it's kind of my version of a crab boiled shrimp. So.
Tell us how many years you've been cooking with seafood, and what's it like to cook with Texas seafood?
Texas seafood's great. I've been cooking for 15 years. We have everything from blue crab to oysters, red snapper, anything that comes from the Gulf. We're right by the Gulf, so we utilize as much Gulf Coast seafood as we can. So.
How'd you come up with the idea for this dish?
Just playing around and just putting ingredients together and just trying to have fun with it. Just thinking Southern and green tomatoes, Gulf shrimp, and influence a little Texas with some ancho chilies in there. So just kind of tied it all in together.
We're going to be showcasing underutilized snapper species, the gray snapper or mangrove snapper. And we're going to be putting this over a summer squash and Alabama jumbo lump crab caponata. So it's a play on a Sicilian eggplant dish. But we're throwing a lot of Alabama towards it, toasted pecans, doing a little limoncello foam, some beautiful heirloom tomatoes. So we've got a lot going on this plate.
How did you get interested in cooking with seafood?
I've always been by the coast, so studied in Charleston, South Carolina, found a love for fresh seafood there, and got to cut my teeth at Ocean Restaurant in Birmingham, which we're flying it in from all over the world, and now I'm in the best spot. The Gulf's my back porch in Orange Beach, so I got 600,000 square miles of awesome water with beautiful fish.
What's the best thing about cooking with seafood?
It's versatile, but it still relies a lot on technique, and a lot of skill and focus with it. But it's a beautiful thing, and you get so many different flavors off different oysters from the left coast to the right coast. It's just the variety's unmatched.
I am going to go with the same dish that I won with Louisiana seafood. I'm going to do the crackling crusted black drum with the butter poached jumbo lump crab meat with the fennel marmalade and a Abita amber beer infused brabant potato.
How did you come up with the idea for this?
Well, my friend and I were just kind of brainstorming, and I knew I wanted to crust a fish, and we were thinking about all of our childhood memories of great things that we used to have when we were kids, and we came up with crackling. So that's how we did it. It was crazy, but we did it.
Tell us about Louisiana seafood.
Louisiana seafood, you can't get any better than that. Freshest. We're trying to keep it domestic. Everybody buying our domestic seafood, and I just love it. It's always fresh. We have so many resources around here that we can get fresh every day.
What's your advice to someone at home that would like to try cooking some seafood?
Keep it simple. Not too much spice. Let the flavor of the fresh fish or the fresh seafood talk for itself. A lot of people think that Cajun Creole, we want to overspice everything and everything's so spicy, and that's not the fact. So we want to taste that freshness of our seafood.
Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank all of the chefs and your teams that traveled from near and far. Thank you to the busloads that came in to support our logo.
Yeah, baby.
And everybody be careful going home. There's a lot of heavy rain out there. And listen, I understand, I don't know the winner, but I understand the numbers were very, very close between the top 5. So may the best chef win, but everybody here is a winner in my book. Thank y'all so very much.
I'm not going to keep us any longer. He's got the envelopes. We're going to go through them 1, 2, 3. Let's open them up. Third place in the Great American Seafood Cook-Off is going to, drum roll, New Mexico, Chef Mark Quinones.
Yes.
Who's got the third place trophy?
Congratulations, Chef.
Third place trophy.
Yes.
Third place. Everybody give Chef Mark a hand. I need his envelope. Chef Mark. Second place in the Great American Seafood Cook-Off, Chef Kyle McClellan from Massachusetts.
All right.
Congratulations. Everybody give Chef Kyle a hand.
Great job, Chef.
Chef Kyle, that's for you. Congratulations. All right, so we have this this thing that we do. If you're gonna become king or queen, you got to take a knee and get the crown from the outgoing king. All right, so at this point, we're going to give the crown to Chef Alex. All right, you guys ready for this? First place in the Great American Seafood Cook-Off is going to Alaska. Woo! Chef Lionel Udipa.
Yes.
Congratulations to Alaska and to Chef Lionel.
I'm very happy. I'm really humbled. I'm kind of speechless right now. This is amazing. We never came here wanting or looking to win, but I'm glad we did. But most importantly, we did a really great dish, and we did what we truly believed in.
Great competition. I'm very happy that we placed in this competition, especially being from the north.
What did you cook up here today?
We did a modern take on a New England clam bake.
I'm just so happy right now. So many great chefs today. The talent level here was fantastic. To be able to cook from New Mexico, the land of enchantment, down in Louisiana, to seafood country, and to be on the podium, it means everything to us.
Well, there was a lot of tough competition. The judges had a really hard time picking the winner, but they did a great job. I'm glad I didn't have to judge.